All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So welcome to the Wacom and Boris FX live training that we have today with Ben Brownlee. Thank you for joining us. We have been used by the world's leading artists, designers, animators, VFX artists, and game development studios for over 37 years. Boris FX has been used in post-production in countless titles, including Black Panther, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, and many more. Today, Ben Brownlee, Director of Learning and Production at Boris FX, will show us this powerful collection of plugins that can enhance your creativity and productivity. This will be a 1 to 2 hour session. It's going to be moderated by Ross Shane from Boris. Please use the Q&A feature for questions. We'll try to get to all the questions that we can. And this evening, this session should be on YouTube for you guys to view. We have a limited software offer with Boris FX. You buy any of our pro products, you get 3-month access of Boris's software that you see here. And without further ado, let's get this started. Go ahead and take it over, Ross.
Okay, folks. Thanks a lot, Tom, for having us. We really appreciate Wacom for hosting. I always used to say Wacom, but now that we're a partner, I'm saying Wacom. Hey, Ben, how are you, Ben?
I am doing all right. Thank you very much, Ross. I'm struggling with the presentation, as you can probably tell. I'm starting starting things off really nicely.
That's okay. Yeah, so let's just go through a quick slideshow, and I want to turn it over to you very quickly, Ben, to show the fun stuff. But let's just look at. We're just going to introduce you to Boris FX, and you can go to the next slide. If you have not heard of us, we've been doing this for quite a long time. Actually, almost 25 years. Our company has been in software development. We're actually one of the first plugin makers back in the 90s, when the early days of nonlinear editing, when basically the industry was transitioning from tape-based videotape and film analog devices to computer-based editing and tools. Boris FX made some of the first plugins for Avid and for Media 100, and then as the industry developed through Final Cut Pro and Premiere, and many, many other hosts. We've been making plugins for pretty much all the popular editing and visual effects applications for many years. So whether it's Adobe, Avid, Apple, Autodesk, Blackmagic these days, Foundry, we've been making tools for quite a long time. And we've actually grown over the years where we've acquired a couple different companies. So some of these companies are GenArts made a product called Sapphire, which Ben was going to show you. Imagineer Systems made the software called Mocha, very popular motion tracking software. And then Silhouette, which is a premier rotoscoping tool used in the high-end visual effects industry. So through acquisitions, Boris FX has grown to be the largest plugin developer. Our tools have also won lots of awards, which is kind of fun. And you'll see that our tools have been used on many, many famous films. So if you go to the next slide, Ben, even in the last year, some of the most famous films and television projects, including The Mandalorian and The Crown and even WandaVision, our tools have been used for lots and lots of visual effects. Some of it is very hidden to the end user, lots of invisible effects. But I think that it's going to be fun to show you guys how our tools are used. So we're really going to focus on the Boris FX suite. And this is all the tools that we make. And as Tom mentioned at the beginning here, that Wacom users, if you bought a Cintiq, an Intuos Pro, or the Studio monitor in the last, I'm not even sure, if you've bought one recently, or if you buy one in the future, you can get a free 3-month subscription to the Boris FX suite, which includes Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha, Optics, and Silhouette. So I don't think I'm going to go through each slide, Ben. I think we can just start off with Optics, which is going to be in Sapphire, and we don't need to go through each slide.
No, I think that's fine.
I think we'll hit these points here.
We definitely will.
Yeah, so let's get into the fun stuff. Each of our tools is basically used for different things in the post-production task, whether it's editing, visual effects, color grading. So Ben is going to show you some very cool stuff. I'm going to be hanging out in the chat, so feel free to ask questions and I will get them answered, or else I'll interrupt Ben and ask you questions.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the best things about being live is the fact that we can ask and answer questions together. So please don't be shy. Just get them asked. Like Russ was saying, we are going to be looking at lots of different products today, like that make up the Boris FX suite. And I like to think of them as a family of products, and we'll see this as we actually go through them. And I'm going to start off in optics. Optics is our very first sort of set of plugins or product that was designed for stills. Most of the time we've been working with video filters. So optics is slightly different in the fact that it is actually designed to work just on stills, either as a standalone application or as a plugin for Lightroom or Photoshop. And what we'll see is it's a collection of like a lot of these. It's a collection of hundreds of different filters, or actually all put together to do different styles of effects, be that sort of lighting effect or color effects, or in that case some lightning without zap. But I think probably the best way to do it is actually to look through the process. So I'm going to come out of Premiere. I'm actually going to go into Photoshop, and I'm also going to change my camera because I am using an Intuos Pro today. So I thought it'd be quite nice just to have it so you could sort of see what I'm doing with it down here. So let's start off with our first shot. And we're working in Photoshop here, but optics does come as a standalone application as well. And one of the sort of things that if you worked with Photoshop before and Photoshop plugins, one of the things that you'll probably appreciate is the fact that we can apply optics as a smart filter. And we'll find out why that's important in a little bit. So if I bring in optics, it actually launches optics in its own separate interface. And this just shows me the last thing I've got. There we go. I'll just reset that there. And like I said, it's broken up into a lot of different filters. So just for this one, I'm going to come in and take a quick look around the interface. So at the bottom, we've probably got the most fun stuff, which is all of our different filters that we have. And they're broken up into, I think, 13 or 14 different categories, including, favorites as well. So you can come in and mark up some of your favorites down the bottom. And over on the left-hand side, we have a list of the filters that we have applied. So we can actually start to apply different filters together. Let's come in. What should I do with this one? I'm just going to actually just do a straight up color correct on this. And this means that what we get over here on our right-hand side are our parameters and probably more importantly, our presets. Because all of the filters that we're going to be showing today actually come with lots of different presets, more or less depending on what the filter actually is. But these are here to get you started, to lead you in a sort of interesting kind of direction, or sometimes just to teach you or to tell you what sort of things you can start to do with the filters themselves. So they can be used for inspiration or just straight out of the box. So I could come in, I could use one of the presets that we have here as a starting off point, or I can just come in and down to the bottom, and I've got my parameters, so I could just try and give us a little bit more, maybe a little bit more contrast in here, just sort of bring the shadows down just a little bit. And we have big parameters. If you want to get sort of like more more into it as well, we can, sort of go all the way through, and you can dive in as deep as you want to. Now, one of the nice things that I like most about optics is how easy it is to kind of play around with different filters. So I can actually add in another layer up in the left-hand corner, and I can come in and add another type of filter. So probably, I mean, one of the ones that optics are known for are the lighting filters and diffusion filters. And we can use these for sort of skin softening stuff. I think we'll come in. What will I use? Let's find. We can just sort of have a little look around just by clicking on these different ones here until we find something we like. Actually, the ice halos is quite nice, and I've got again lots of presets that I can start to work with. I can interactively move these things around in the viewer. And if I need to make changes, I can just come into the parameters down there and sort of do displacement or scale it up a little bit. So let's bring that around about here-ish maybe. So this is, so far this is looking all right. But one of the nice things that I like to do is obviously be able to mask out these filters. So we're only applying the filter to particular parts of the image. And we can do that just in the up the top here with our tools, with our masking tools. And we have, gradients or spots, paths, which we can draw. But probably the one that's most interesting is actually the easy mask. Now, the easy mask is sort of broken down into, a few different sort of stages, but we can make this really, really, easy by coming in and just drawing on our image. Now I'm going to hold down the control key, or actually I'm going to use the express keys on the tablet here. And I'm just going to draw in green on the area of the image that I want to keep in. So I just come in. I'm not going to be, too precious about where I'm drawing. And then I can, actually, I'll keep that same size. I can just right click now, which I'm just doing on the pen, and just draw little red areas where I want those images to be removed, or where I want the area to be removed. And I can fill those things in if I want to, just by using the paint bucket, right click and left click. Oftentimes you actually don't even have to bother using the paint bucket at all. You can just come in, generate out the mask there, and let's have a little look at what that mask is looking like. Let's hit M or just to show us the mask. And you can see we've got pretty decent looking mask already. And I can kind of tidy that up a little bit. Let's turn that up so we can just see that there. So I can tidy that up, maybe sort of fill in areas here and just add in different areas there and just tighten that up a wee bit. So when I'm happy with that, let's hit M again, or I can click on this button to turn the mask off. You can see it's only applying the filter inside of our mask. Now, obviously that's wrong. I want to apply the filter only to the outside of the mask. So all I have to do is just invert it, and we have our mask shape there. So if I come over, I've still got, full control over the image. And that's just sort of bringing that in quite nicely over there. And I can add in different things as well, but I'm not going to sort of labor the point too much. I can bring in maybe a flare, and let's just copy that mask over the top there. So now I'm just flaring up the background. That's kind of nice. So we can easily sort of compare it, the sort of before and after. Let's turn off the area there. There we go. So you can see on and off. There we go. So you can see we're starting to build up something quite nice, something very, very quickly as well. So we add another one on top, and this will be the last one for optics, I think, for the time being, because I'm going to come and show you probably one of my favorite optics effects. This is, if you're just starting out with one optics effect, this is going to be the one that I'm going to send you to, which is film stocks. And film stocks is one that has hundreds of different presets available. In fact, we've got so many presets for this, we've actually had to, put them into different categories of their own. So we've got things like black and white film, and we can sort of change our way through there. So that's looking very, very nice, very classy. We have color film. So this is sort of film stock emulation. And this is looking really nice as well. And we also have things like, historical film or motion picture film. So this is coming in and sort of, emulating motion picture stock. Now, all of these filters can also be kind of mixed together as well. So if you are used to working in Photoshop, you know what blend modes are. We've got blend modes in the top left-hand corner on every single one of those layers. So I could set this to soft light, for example. Probably is not going to look great with soft light, actually. That kind of looks all right. I don't mind that. Let's set that back to normal. But we can also take the opacity down on this as well. So we can kind of mix it back so it's not quite as strong. So we can take one of the filters that is actually quite strong in itself and just only add a tiny bit of seasoning to it. And this is one of the ways that I really like to use film stocks. I sort of use this on every single one of my images, just like as a little bit of seasoning, just at the very, very end, just sprinkling over a little bit of salt and pepper. So we take a little look. Let's see, is that the one that I want? Maybe doesn't really make too much difference. I am, obviously I'm wanting to make something that looks nice and arty. That's cool. And so when I'm happy with that, I'll just hit the process button on there, and that will send us back into Photoshop. Because remember, we launched this from Photoshop as a smart filter. And we can have a look at the before and after there. Now, the cool thing about this being a smart filter is that if I do want to make a change, I can just double click on this. This will bring us back into optics. And not only would it bring us back into optics, it will bring us back into optics with all of our effects, layers, and masks all intact. So if I want to come to my film stocks now and choose a completely different style, let's choose that, which is very, very different than we had before. Actually, that's even more different. Yeah, there we go. Just so you can see that, hit process again one more time. It will then take us back out into Photoshop and we can work with it from there. And see the sort of choose which one we actually like the most. That's kind of cool. And this brings us back into optics. So now just one final thing with optics. If you like what we've made here, and this is something that is, hang on a sec, let's come out. Let's go back into Photoshop. Where are you? Yeah, if you like what we've made in optics here, what you can do is you can actually save this out as a preset of its own. So not just like a single effect preset. We call this a setup. So we can save the entire setup here. And you can use this time and time again. As it's a .optics one. You can use that time and time again on your different filters or on your different images. So this is a feature that's very much enjoyed by people who are doing a lot of volume photography, sort of like pack shots or, stuff that has to have the same look consistently through it. So it's a nice way. And this can be set up as a Photoshop action or as a batch process in the standalone version of optics. So that was a very quick look at optics. Do we have any questions, Ross, while I bring me back to my main cam?
Hey, Ben. Yeah, no, that was a really nice, quick and short overview. I know from personal experience that optics has 160 different filters. So there's quite a lot you can do inside of optics, inside of Photoshop or Lightroom. But I love just how creative, you can just like open a photo and play around and get inspired by some ideas very quickly. I liked, Ben, I liked your action when you said spice, and we had the close up of your hand saying spice. That well, carried the through thing is, well with the two cameras.
the thing is, I'm normally just doing the sort of face camera here. So spice here, it's really easy to do spice down there. When I've got a close up down here, you have to think about your movement a little bit more.
It's nice. It's nice. A little spice.
Just a little spice.
Yeah, no, but it's really actually great to see the Wacom tablet, how you're using it in context. So very cool. But no, you can go ahead.
I was going to say it does make it a lot easier, and that we're going to see this. Again, it's one of these sort of like threads that run through a lot of the Boris FX suite. Is that a lot of the stuff that we're doing in one application with one set of filters, we can actually do it across in different parts of the suite as well. So like the process of making the paintbrush, bigger and smaller with gestures is something that we're going to see a little bit later as well when we look at silhouette. So
yeah, I think that's also sort of an interesting point to make for the audience, is that people like Ben and I, we've been doing visual effects and post-production for a long time, and we've both been using our Wacom tablets for a very long time. It's a central tool to how we, I'm not a painter, I'm not an illustrator, but I'm using my pen every single day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we were talking about in the preparation for this live stream, we're talking about what which of the tablets I was going to be using, or which one of the products I was going to be using, and like the thing is, I've got a sort of embarrassment of tablets from throughout the years, because I've got pretty much most generations from generation 2 still. It's and they're sort of they're slowly sort of spreading out throughout the house now. My my son's getting old enough now to actually start to do a bit more sort of creative work on the computer, and he's got one of my my sort of my hand-me-downs, and it just makes things a lot easier than with a mouse, to be honest. It's sort of I lived through the hamburger mouse days on the Mac. You probably remember that as well, Ross.
Yeah.
The little hockey puck things, and people would edit with those. People would actually do editing days with those, and sort of like come out with this sort of weird cramped hand and sort of look at me like just with with my Wacom tablet and just go, oh, that does seem a lot easier. It's like, yeah. So let's enough of me. If you let me ramble, I will keep rambling. But let's keep me on track. We're going to come to the second product today, and that's going to be Sapphire. So Sapphire is probably one of the sort of the most known of the Boris FX products, but because it's so visible, it's been used in I don't know how many films, broadcast TV, music videos. It's a lot of very, very flashy, showy effects, a lot of light effects, which we're going to be looking at. Lots of sort of glamorous glows, lens flares, kind of really, really sort of meaty eye candy style of effect. And I think this is something that this draws people to Sapphire. So we're going to be looking at Sapphire in After Effects, but we can. Sapphire comes for Adobe, so we can use this in After Effects or Premiere. You also have it for OFX hosts. So if you're working in Resolve or Flame or Fusion, or Nuke, of course, and there's also Sapphire for Avid. So it's a very, very wide ranging host that we support. And probably one of the sort of one of my favorite effects. I'm not going to say one of the most popular effects. One of my most popular effects is the lens flare. And like the Sapphire lens flare, it really is in a sort of class of its own. I'm just going to apply this down here. If we have a little look, Sapphire again Ross will give us the proper number when we come back, but I think it's over 250 different filters. Again, split up into lots of different categories. But I'm going to be using the lens flare here. In fact, I'm going to use a different one just because this is going to be the first public showing of some of my new flares that we've got coming for the new version of software.
Oh,
it's a sneak peek. It's a sneak peek. This is you're going to be some of the first people to have seen these outside of a very small cadre of people.
I think you can speak for for both of us that the lens flares that you're going to find in our products are pretty much, you can say pretty confidently, like the most professional, most in-depth. You have more options in these lens flares than in any other product, really. Yeah, really. And we've got, like, if we just look at, we're in the well, I hope we're still in. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're in the Flare Designer now. So this is where you can see some of the presets. Again, obviously, with something like this, we're going to be shipping with a lot of different types of presets. But you can just see this kind of the wealth of different styles. You have sort of more artistic, stylistic ones that are a bit kind of crazy and off the wall. This is one of my favorites. This was They Came at Night, made by Nick Haraz, which is just a bonkers lens flare. Or you have something that's a bit more realistic, based off of like a real world lens. This is the Zeiss CP3 135mm, and this is just it's just a very different type of flare. And this comes again with I can't remember how many flares this is shipping with now, but it's over 100 different presets. And this is my work in progress, as you can probably sort of start to tell, for one of the new flares that's coming. This is Island of Fantasy, and this is just nice. It's just something that's really nice. It's with the Flare Designer. Like, a lot of these flares are made up of tens of different types of individual element. And the great thing about the way that they're laid out is that you don't have to think about these at all. You can like the flare as it is, and that's great. Or if you don't like the flare and you want to make sort of small changes to it, or any sort of changes to it, like the most common changes people are making are just kind of like turning elements on and off. So we can do that. We can just sort of turn elements or groups of elements off to sort of simplify things out a little bit. Or the other thing that people want to do is to change the color of the flare, and you can just do that on an entire group here. And just kind of go, well, actually, let's make this a little bit more magenta, shall we? There we go. And you can do that without any sort of real thought about the actual kind of complexities at all. But the great thing is, if you do want to dive down into it, you can as well. Here's another one. Let's just discard those changes. Here's another one of the new ones that's going to be coming up. In fact, this is still the work in progress, one of them. And it
it's just a very different type of flare than, hang on a second, let's find an old style lens flare. There, that's your old style, very old style, old fashioned flare. We're sort of going and taking that completely into a different direction here. Let's have a little look and see how that works on our footage. I can actually see how it works on the. I got so enthused with the flares, I forgot to actually say we can actually see how that's going to look on the footage directly within here as well. So maybe I can find one that's going to be a bit more suitable for this. Yeah, there's probably this one here actually. The Canon Sumir 85mm. That's nice. We'll take that just as it is. But this needs animating. So here's another thing. We talked a little bit, as we render this through, I'm just going to talk a little bit. So we talked a little bit right at the start about Mocha being part of the Boris FX suite. And for those of you who don't know what Mocha is, I'm going to describe it as the glue that holds a lot of effects together. Mocha is sort of does motion tracking, masking, and with Mocha Pro a lot more than that, which we're going to see in just a little bit. But the nice thing about this being part of the Boris FX family and part of the Boris FX suite is that a lot of this technology is built in and shared between the different products. So Mocha, if we go into edit Mocha here, Mocha is embedded as part of Sapphire and Continuum filters, which we'll see later. So we can use these for a couple of different jobs. We can either use these to mask out the elements, so we're only applying filters into a certain area, which is sort of what we saw with optics, or we can use it to do parameter tracking. So in this case, I'm just going to come in and I want my hotspot to kind of follow this light. And this is really nice and straightforward. I can just say, just track the position on this and track it forwards. It's going to go along and track that forwards. I can go and track that backwards. Maybe if I'd have thought about it a little bit more, I could have started at one end, so I'd only have to track backwards or forwards. But once I've got that, I can just save, exit out of Mocha, and I can just click on this thing here. Hotspot uses Mocha. And now, wherever I put my hotspot in Mocha is going to be where the flare is going to be tracked to. So this means that I can, without even really thinking about it, get some really nice, realistic looking motion to the flares. And that's when the lens flares sort of really start to come together and sort of say something a bit more, because once you see these in motion, that's when they start getting really fun to my mind. And of course, I'm not going to belabor the point, but we can make big changes to these flares as well. As you can tell here, we've got a lot of different options in or outside of the flare designer. So we can add things like atmosphere and all that sort of fun stuff to kind of make a bit more of a sort of smoky haze. And speaking of which, actually, sorry, Ross, are there any questions about lens flares so far?
No, I think we're doing pretty well. Very cool. I enjoyed seeing your new some of the stuff you've been working on, as far as the presets. Very cool. Yeah. And I think it's just fun for people to see that, like a lot of people would see this shot on television and they would never think that was a visual effect. They would just think that is a natural, the way something that was captured in camera. But I think that's really interesting is, like, to me, Sapphire is like that. That's, you talk about the special spice. It's like that icing that kind of puts the gloss on things and makes things like just sort of pop in a different kind of way.
That's it. And like a lot of these effects can be very big and very showy. But my style when using them is often a lot more kind of low key. I just want things to kind of look nicer, but I don't want people to realize why they're looking nicer. So it is sort of little things like flares, diffusions, glows, that sort of stuff. Actually, we've got 2 minutes for me to look at glows, don't we?
Yeah, and as you're bringing that up, someone asked in the chat, are these flares common? You know, is it common to use flares in post? And absolutely. I mean, I think what's kind of cool is that the flares that Ben was just showing, they're used in Star Wars, the Marvel films. They're used in just so many different well-known television shows as well. So yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, they're not these things don't always look like that in camera. So integrating lighting effects is a huge part of like really selling the shot, right?
Yep. Yeah, and just while we're still talking about that, like the flares that we've got here, the ones that are coming from lenses, these are, these are created out of reference shots. So we're actually going out and getting reference shots for these flares, and then building the artificial flare out of those shots. So it has that kind of natural magic to it, while still being much more controllable than a flare in a camera actually is. Because a lot of the time when you're trying to shoot something that has just that right little look, it's surprisingly enough, it's really difficult to capture in camera all the time and consistently. So sometimes you just need to put it in there in a way that doesn't draw too much attention to itself, or doesn't look fake, doesn't look like a CG lens flare that we've seen 1,000 times before. And that's the kind of thing that makes the Sapphire lens flare different to my mind.
Yeah, and then in a high-end visual effects shot, this shot, that it might be shot on green screen, and so having the ability to apply these effects in post is definitely something that will tie the scene in together.
Absolutely. I want to spend just a minute on glow, because I think glow is something that Sapphire's also been known for. And this is the regular Sapphire Glow. And this was a hugely popular effect. Like, people would use glows for all different types of tasks. And in fact, people loved this so much they had T-shirts printed up with S Glow for life, that sort of stuff. It's fun. We did something that actually doesn't sound like it would be very risky, but actually was a little bit risky. We decided we were going to make a new glow effect. And even riskier was calling it Ultraglow. So this is trying to sort of build on top of that legacy of the Sapphire Glow and make it even nicer. I'm just going to come into the preset browser again. Like, we've been talking about presets quite a bit. I think with the effects that are so deep, like the Sapphire and Continuum and optics, there's so much you can actually do with these filters that it's very easy to kind of get overwhelmed and kind of not, or just not know. You kind of put one of the filters on. If you don't like what it does at default values, a lot of people will kind of just take it off and then, not look at it again. So to kind of combat that, we have made a lot of different styles of presets, especially for things like Ultraglow, where there are so many different things you can do with it. We've got light sweeps, hot glows, and these are all coming from the same effect. So a lot of these are designed for text, but you also have ones that are designed for video images as well. So the text ones you can usually see on the preset. The text ones are the ones that are just looking like the sort of text outlines. They'll also look a little bit different when you try to put them on video. So one of the things that was very important when designing this effect was to try and make it as simple and straightforward as possible. So you've got depth, but if people are coming to it and they don't want depth, they just want something that looks cool, you don't want to overwhelm them with having loads and loads of different buttons or different sliders they have to do. So with Ultraglow, most of the time you really, if you like the direction of a preset, you really only have to touch two sliders. One is the threshold. That just shows where the how the glow is being applied, what level of is the glow being applied to. So if you only want the hottest spots, you do a high threshold. If you want more of a sort of overall glowing, down to some of the lower grays, you do a lower threshold. And then the next one is the brightness. So like how big and bold and brashy do you want this glow to be? You can come in, you can play with glow widths, you can play with afterglow, which is the real secret sauce of the glow, to be fair, which is, the bit that makes it bigger, bolder, brashier. But really, like most of the time, most of your work is done with threshold and with brightness. And I'll just show you how this works on a real bit of, or a piece of real video here as well. Literally, I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this. Going to come in. Am I going to find a preset? Or am I just going to use the default? Actually, let's do optical streaks. Yeah, we'll use this. And again, I'm just going to change the threshold up, because the sort of base threshold, that's getting a little bit too glowy, even for me, someone who loves their glows. I can take the glow width down and then just sort of find the level I want. Do I want something subtle, or do I want something really bold? And that's it. And that's it. If I want something nice, big and bold, then I can just come through and that's going to be it. For some reason, I decided that obviously working at 4K or having only 4K files for this live stream would be a fantastic idea. But it is quite a quick render to go through. So that's something quite nice. That's Ultraglow. This is the sort of kind of secret sauce to a lot of like motion graphics, or just like a lot of like music videos and things. It gives you a kind of more expensive look without you having to do a lot of stuff. It really is like a little secret sauce, this one. Love me some Ultraglow. Any questions about that, or anything else about that, Ross?
No, definitely really cool stuff. I know for time we should probably keep going to the next
exactly
product, but as you're setting that up, I'll just ask you if we can multitask here. Can you share a little bit of what specs is your computer that you're running for the audience?
Oh gosh, it's kind of a 2-year-old Intel i7 processor. I'm not sure what exactly that one was. I'm using an NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti graphics card with 32 gig of RAM. I think that's the sort of the major specs on that. So it's not the sort of slowest machine in the world, but it's not a super ultra 64 core beast or anything. It's a fairly fairly sort of decent middle spec one now. It was pretty good when I bought it. I think I think you got pretty good performance for 4K rendering there with the glows. I think it's doing all right. It's doing all right. I like there are some, like some of the filters really respond well to the graphics card. So the sort of the bigger your graphics card is, and the more pixels it can throw around, the better that's going to be for kind of real time previewing and sort of speeding up the performance there. So I think that's probably where my machine kind of wins a little bit. I think I managed to get like one of the last decent or reasonably affordable graphics cards before everything just went a little bit insane on the prices. Anyway, we're in Mocha again. So this doesn't quite look like the Mocha we saw before, but that's only because I'm using a slightly different workspace. So this Essentials workspace is what we saw when we were tracking in the lens flare 5 minutes ago. So this is generally speaking, this is the workspace that I would recommend most people to start out with in Mocha, because this does most of the things that you need and keeps things relatively straightforward. So let's remember to switch back to my other camera. Here we go. So what Mocha is going to be doing here is we're going to be using Mocha to do tracking and masking. And how we use that tracking and masking data afterwards really is the secret. And that's why I call Mocha the glue that holds everything together, because we can use that tracking data for so many different things, and we can use that masking data in a lot of different ways as well. Now, one of the things that we can use this for is things like screen replacements. Well, I don't have a screen here. I've got a nice graffiti wall, and if we just play that back, just so you can see what it's doing, it's kind of not really doing a lot at the end of it, but the shot itself kind of goes and spins around a little bit towards the front. And there's one of the things that makes Mocha so useful is the fact that it doesn't get thrown off as much as like a regular point tracker would do by things like motion blur or noise in the image. It's able to kind of track through a lot of those ways just because of the way that it is tracking things. And the secret behind Mocha is that Mocha is a planar tracker. So instead of tracking in a small point or a small area, what we can do is we can track in like a sort of a slightly larger area than we might otherwise need. But so long as all of the stuff within this shape here is coplanar, it means it shares the same relative movement to the camera, we're going to get a good track out of it. So basically there are two areas to Mocha, or two elements to Mocha. There's the shape and there's the surface. And the surface is actually where our tracking data is going to be applied. So if I line this surface up with our wall, I'm just going to put something in here. I'm just going to come in and let's stick a Mocha logo in. Nice big Mocha logo. You're not going to miss that. So what I can do with this is that I can track our wall. Let's just track this forwards. And Mocha's going to be tracking the contents of this shape and then putting that tracking data onto the surface. So where this gets interesting, I mean, this little bit of the track here is fairly kind of nice, fairly sort of straightforward though. Where it gets interesting is where we have big, long movements or movements where there's a lot of motion tracking. So for that, I'm going to show you something that I probably wouldn't do with this shot, but I think it's quite funny to see anyway. Is I can set my linked track here to none. Don't worry too much about what it's doing, but just look at what the shape is doing. and what my surface is doing. So the surface with the grid there, let's just isolate the surface. I'm going to track this backwards. Now look what's happening to the shape. The shape itself is staying still. And that's because we've told Mocha, don't move the shape when you're tracking. Just analyze what those pixels are that are going through that shape and translate that onto my surface. So it means that my surface there, that area that we were first tracking, can go completely off screen, and I'm still getting a good track out of it. Let's play that forward now. So look at that, the shape completely static. What's going in my surface, completely, completely solid tracking. It's rock solid there. And the cool thing about the surface, and this is something that blows people's minds, and it's something that's really important to get your head around, is that surface, I can now move that around, and it's still got that tracking data running behind it. So I can play that. I'm not even tracking anymore. I've already tracked. I can play that, and that's just moving that with that same motion that we had going through on our wall. So if you're looking for rock solid motion tracking, which you can use for inserts like this, Mocha is the place to be. We can also export these shapes. Let's just come out of here. We can also export these shapes as well. Or if we're working with the plugin, I can render this back out into our host. So just like our plugins, like Sapphire, Mocha is compatible with a lot of different types of hosts. It's found as a standalone application, so you can just run it just on its own, but you can also have it with Adobe or OFX again for Nuke, Fusion, Flame, that sort of stuff. Vegas Pro, of course, and Avid. So there again, you've got a lot of different hosts to choose from. One that will fit, whatever your workflow is going to be. But where I find Mocha really useful, Mocha Pro especially useful, are the Mocha Pro modules. So let's take a little look at this. This is my original footage. This is just a little shot of New York. Obviously it's Ross's back garden right here. And this is a fine shot, but it's a little bit wobbly. And I hope that kind of comes through. If I scrub through, you can probably see the wobble a little bit better. If I go to the beginning and end frame, you can definitely see that wobble a little bit better. So we can use, one of the ways that we can use that motion tracking data isn't to do match moving. So isn't to kind of match one element to another element that's moving in here. We can also use it for stabilization. Now, a lot of hosts have their own built-in stabilizers. Adobe have their warp stabilizer. Resolve also has its own stabilizers as well. And these do, depending on the footage, these do, a pretty good job. And I say depending on the footage because a lot of these stabilizers are very much black box effects. So you kind of apply it, you run it, you hope it works. If it doesn't work, you've not really got a lot of stuff that you can change afterwards. If I play this back, this looks really nice and stable, yeah? Let's do one little thing. I'm just going to go to the start and the end again. Look what's being stabilized. The clouds are being stable. Look, the clouds are perfectly stable. But the buildings themselves look like they're falling over. So the warp stabilizer has kind of picked up on the wrong kind of movement in this shot to stabilize out. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of buildings kind of just falling over towards me, or even falling over away from me. Buildings should be the ones that are stable. You know, call me old fashioned, but that's just how it should be. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use Mocha to very quickly stabilize this out. And I'm going to do the kind of most basic thing that I could possibly do. I'm just going to make a simple shape. There we go, bring that up here. Just make a very simple shape around the buildings. There we go. So the bits that are actually meant to be static. And that's pretty much where we're at. And I'm just going to say, well, please, Mr. Mocha, would you track that forwards for me? And it's going to go along and track that through. So I'm choosing what it is going, or, you know, what the stable images are going to be, or what the image is going to be stabilized around, I should say. And that's going to be the buildings here. So when that's done, I'm going to then turn it into a slightly different workspace, because we can't see the workspace that I actually need to, so we can't see the modules here. So I'm going to go into the classic workspace. And what the classic workspace is going to do is it's going to give me access to the Mocha Pro modules. So we have things like the lens module for correcting lens distortion. Obviously, this shot needs a little bit of help in that area as well. We're not going to do that right now. We have the camera solver, so we can make sort of 3D camera tracks. We have the insert module. We have mega plates, which are really fun ways of creating like one big frame out of a moving image. We have remove for doing automatic removes. We have reorient if you're using 360 VR stuff, but we have also the stabilize module as well. So if I come into my stabilize module, I'm going to make this really simple for everyone. I'm just going to smooth all motion, and I'm going to do maximum smoothing. We have like lots of options within stabilize to get a bit more creative with what we're doing. But if I just turn all of the overlays off here, you can see that that is now stabilizing out my footage. And I can also choose what I want to do, how I want to get rid of those black borders that it's inevitably going to create. I'm just going to zoom these up just a little bit. I'm going to come out of Mocha, come into my module renders, and please render the stabilize there. And now if we have a little look at the first frame and last frame, you can see those are absolutely rock solid. And if I render that through, this is going to give me a really nice, completely stabilized lockdown shot, which is what I want out of this image. Bam. Look at that. So I've saved my shaky camera work with 30 seconds worth of work in Mocha. And I shot a lot of stuff on that same day. And it was a very windy day, and I'm afraid to say that I had to stabilize out a lot of footage, and Mocha did make that a lot easier for me. Now we can obviously do a lot more with Mocha. We've got things like the power mesh, so we can come in and do non-planar surfaces as well. So this, for example, this T-shirt here. With the Kyoto Penguin Patrol, which looks really nice. Well, actually, this started off as the Tokyo Tiger Patrol, but obviously that was way too violent, so we went with penguins as well. And everyone's favorite anagram of Tokyo is obviously Kyoto. So hence the change t-shirt. Well, while I do a quick round preview of that, Ross, do we have any questions?
No, Ben, I think that we're covering most of the questions in the chat and everything. Some
Excellent.
people were asking about Mocha's tracker, if it's using any data from the camera itself. And it's really not. I mean, we're literally using the pixels that the camera captures, but we're not using any technical data of how the camera was moving.
No, and I think that's something that makes it means that it's a lot more kind of flexible as well, because a lot of the time you're not getting that kind of camera metadata written down. Especially with the some of the sort of faster productions, you don't have someone writing down all of the data that you need. If you're running and gunning, you're lucky to get, like, you're just trying to get the shot rather than trying to get the shot. Plus, spending all the time sort of writing all the tech stuff down, which people should do for VFX. It does make life a lot easier in a lot of times. But
if you're buying some stock from a stock footage site, it's not very likely you're going to get any data other than just the video file itself.
No, exactly.
Yeah, someone actually has a question right now. Does it help to find the vanishing points for a planar surface?
Not really. No.
Yeah, not really.
No. I mean, it depends on what you want to do with it, but no. Usually, I mean, what you want from when you're doing the actual track is you want to have your start frame as kind of big and in focus as you possibly can, because that's going to give you the best starting point for your track. You can, if you want to, and I've done this a lot, is track one area, and then which is nice, big, and in focus, and then because the things like walls and stuff are nice, big coplanar shapes, you can then push whatever data you want, far down the wall. But you'll obviously get the result that you need, because the movement is coplanar. The movement's going to be the same whether you track it over here or in the smaller area over here. It's just when you're tracking something that's bigger, obviously you've got more pixels, you've got more leeway for things like if you're tracking something really small, if you're off just a little bit and you're making the surface bigger, then you can potentially be making those mistakes bigger as well. If you track big and work small, those mistakes, those little areas that creep in are going to be smaller and far less visible. But no, you don't have to worry about vanishing points.
Yeah, we could get into the weeds of tracking, very technical for a long time, Ben and I. But
we could.
I think that at heart, I think just the thing to know about Mocha is that that this motion tracking is really a huge part of post-production, and used on invisible effects and used in motion graphics. And once you have that tracking data, you can replace backgrounds, you can do rotoscoping, you can do lots of things without having to do it frame by frame. So Mocha it's just a huge time saver.
Yeah.
And as Ben is, if you get ready to set up your next example, I just want to also mention to everyone that if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, that Boris FX's licensed Mocha AE, a light version of Mocha, is found inside every version of After Effects, and it's a great way to get started. And then Mocha Pro is what we actually sell and what is bundled with the Boris FX suite, and is which is bundled now with the Wacom tablets, the 3-month subscription. Mocha Pro has a lot more features, but I always say that Mocha AE, the free one in Adobe, is just a great way to get started.
Oh yeah, and like for a lot of people, Mocha AE is going to give you more than what you need to get going when you're sort of first starting out. And then because it does give you that core, like the tracking technology is the same in Mocha AE and Mocha Pro. It's just with Mocha Pro, you've got more flexibility for what you can do with the data directly within the program, and things like Power Mesh, of course, obviously.
Ben, I think we'd be remiss to not mention that we just launched, for those of you who might see this, a very quick demo of this like we're doing now, and think that the training curve or the learning curve is very steep. We actually released 7 hours of free training on the Boris FX site for Mocha. We call this Mocha Essentials, and you'll find it on the borisfx.com. I'll paste the link into the chat as well.
Yeah, it's available on our website. It's also available on our Boris FX Learn YouTube channel as well. It's almost 8 hours worth of training that takes you from being an absolute novice to really understanding what even some of the more complex Mocha Pro modules are actually doing. And it's not just a button pushing exercise. It's trying to teach you the ideas behind what those buttons are doing. So it's much more than just a sort of follow along course. You're gonna learn where you would want to start tracking in your own projects and in your own footage. And more importantly, when things go wrong, what are you going to do? What techniques should you try first to actually get things working properly again? If I do say so myself, as one of the co-authors of the training, it's a excellent place to start your Mocha journey. It's been getting very good feedback so far.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, let's look at the next bit. The next bit is going to be, we're number 4 already. It's going to be Continuum. And Boris FX Continuum is another set of video filters. And this really is a huge grab bag of different styles of filters. So it's got things like chroma keying, titling. It's got diffusion stuff, the cinematographer's toolkit, which is what we call it. Huge numbers of transitions, particle illusion, which we're seeing here, and which we're probably going to start with as well. Like there really is a huge variety of different plugins and filters found within Continuum, which is probably why it's one of those ones where it's really got something for everyone. Regardless of what it is you're doing within video. But we do only have a limited time. I've spoken for hours about just one feature of Continuum. So unfortunately, we don't have a huge amount of time to go into loads of details about it. But let's look at a couple of my favorite effects in here. Actually, let's go. I'm going to stay in Premiere for this. I know we've been floating about different filters, different hosts. But I think it's important to show that we actually do have, a lot of different host support. If I'll just type in BCC in the filters here, and you can see just how many filters that we have. Going for us in the Continuum thing. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. Actually, I really am now worried that it's never going to stop. Stop. There we go. Good. It's a lot. But we're going to start off with particle illusion. And particle illusion, we have a full particles category in Continuum. But particle illusion is probably the one that is probably the most accessible and has the sort of some of the best new features, I would say. I'm going to launch particle illusion. It's another one of these effects that we're going to put the filter down, and then it's going to launch its own interface. I'm going to change the viewer to just browse so we can have a little look at this, because and I will also change camera again, because this is another one where this is really, really fun to work with the pen and tablet, because we do have I think it's thousands. I think it's like over 4,000 different presets, and a lot of these particles, some of them just kind of sit there doing what they do. We've got smoky stuff, but a lot of these particles, they really come alive when you start moving them around, which we can do just in the browse filter here. So I can come in. I've got these ones here. This one is probably one where we're just going to stick it in one place and just going to have a little look there. Now, because we've got so many emitters, I can start to filter these. So let's just look at fire to begin with, because fire is always fun. And we've got like more stylized ones, like the pixel fire or anime fire. But we've also got some very realistic looking fire as well. So things like the fireball, fireball there, or fire blasts, or just big super flames. There we go. It just takes a little while to go. And this is, we can use because there's so many different types of particles, we can use these for, a number of different types of job as well. Whether you're just wanting to make a kind of fun motion background or wanting to use these as visual effect elements, we can do all of those things. Let's just come out of here. We can also, there we go. Let's browse these. We can browse these in different ways as well. So instead of just looking at the whole thing, I can look at the different categories. So we can look at our new filters, our 2021 filters, and just sort of look at this here. And there's lots of, fun things that we can do with these filters. I'm just going to find one interesting one. Actually, I'll leave with this one. I think this one's going to be fine. And when I'm happy with what I found, I can just double click this and actually put it onto the stage. And a lot of the time, you're going to, like where the preset is, like right from the very start. I actually might find one that's a little bit more, just got a little bit more action for us. Quantum Gateway, I think. Let's have a look at this one. I don't want anyone that's called slow. There we go. Oh, this is a fun one. There we go. Right, so I'm going to get rid of you. Bye. And bring in my one here. There we go. Cool. So this is fun, and we can do things like simple things like this, like make the whole thing bigger or smaller, just with a sort of simple move up and down on the zoom parameter. I can change the color of these by coming into things like properties, and we've got like colors down here. So I can come in. Let's make this one. What should we say? Let's make this one purple instead. Purple. There we go. And probably want to make this one a little bit less intense now. So I'll bring down the opacity a little bit, maybe, which we have down here, just to make this down a little bit less intense. There we go. Excellent. So we can sort of play around with this to our heart's content. We've got the ability to render this out in 3D. We're not going to really look at that either. We can apply forces to the area as well, to the particles. So let's move this over here, and I've got my little area force. So with the area, let's actually change this into a grid, and change this one here. Move this one there, sort of like start randomizing things a little bit. So what these are going to do, what these forces are going to do, is just add a little bit more sort of random structure or sorry, not random structure. There's almost two separate things, Ben. Like randomness or structure to the simulation. So I can add things like a deflector as well. So I can make sure that this deflects off of things. Add little points in here. And we can start to experiment out and make this as simple or as complex as we want to. Let's just hit apply on that. There comes a time where you're just playing, and that's sort of at that time where I'm at the moment. And if I hit apply, we take this back into our host, which is Premiere in this case. And so oh, sorry, yeah, go for it, Ross.
Yeah, no, we're just kind of running short on time, so I just want to make sure that we answer a couple questions that were coming from the audience. One question that just came up was, when you're working in particle illusion, which is what you're showing now, and you go to 3D, is it slower to render like a 3D particle system than a 2D?
I mean, a little bit, but not. I mean, we're in 3D at the moment. It's just it's a different kind of look. Let's go with the 3D there. I mean,
I think it might be fair. It might also be fair to say, like, if you're used to like a 3D modeling system, this is going to render much faster than a typical, full-blown 3D modeling system. I mean, this is because it's sort of optimized just for particles.
I mean, and also I'm using this in like the fact that I'm confident enough to be using this in Premiere. That's it. It's sort of which isn't really known as a sort of 3D host or a 3D system.
That's a great point too. Yeah,
it's one of those things you can start to play around. Like sometimes when you're editing, you just want a simple sort of motion background just to put text on or something, and you can do that with particle illusion.
It might be worthwhile. It might be worthwhile to point out, Ben, too, just for those who are watching on the Facebook and might not be seeing some of the text chat in the Zoom, that particle illusion is also, if you're just really interested in this, it's actually available for free on the Boris FX website as a standalone application. So that's just a really fun thing to get in there and start playing with. And then if you wanted to use particle illusion inside of a host like Premiere or After Effects, then that is something that you might want to buy. But if you check out on the Boris FX website under particle illusion, you'll find a free standalone application.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a very good point that is worth reiterating as often as possible, because that's, I mean, you can't argue with the price on that one. It's and part and it's not like you can create stuff with particle illusion standalone for free and then bring that in. I've done it many times myself. Just put a few things together. You can render straight out of the standalone as Apple ProRes or as MP4, and then just bring it in. And there's obviously nothing stopping you from adding more stuff on top of this. I mean, here I've just added a quick little lens distortion. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this, but it's something for me to play around with while we talk. And I think that's one of the sort of nice things about it, is that what we're seeing within particle illusion is kind of just the sort of starting point for it. You can then sort of run wild and let your imagination run wild a little bit with it.
What I really like about it is how simple it is to learn. Actually, particle illusion, it's actually quite simple to learn and quick to get in there and play around with. And I found that a lot of people who know Photoshop and they want to add more elements to their photos, but they might be frustrated with learning a full-blown CGI, application like Cinema 4D, for example. Particle illusion is just like a great sort of gateway drug into more complex animation.
Yeah, I mean, I did quite a lot of fashion, like high-end fashion retouching. And one of the things that I would do quite a lot would be to render out like ice particles or fire, and just have those kind of take those out as stills and use them to comp into the into the final thing. It was actually a lot easier to control what I wanted to do than like a lot of the time we would have footage that was shot as well of those particular elements, but you would take a long time to kind of just massage those into place, where you could kind of just like quickly render out a couple of things and no one would be any the wiser that you just, you'd mixed CG and natural bits together. So that's quite fun to do with the amount of different kind of natural water elements, or ice or snow or fire, especially smoke, all of that sort of stuff is available with particle illusion.
Very cool, Ben. I think for time's sake, we should probably get to our last bit here.
We do, yeah, we do. I wanted to show like tons more stuff, but time is never our friend.
Before we hit this last silhouette point, I do want to also answer a question from someone from the Facebook group. We're just going to take it. We don't have to go back into the software, but just when you're showing Mocha and motion tracking, this person was asking, does it make a difference, or would it help to shoot with a high or a fast or a low speed shutter for motion tracking to reduce motion blur? Can you make a point about that?
I will make a very quick point about that. Yes, it would help for motion tracking. It can also cause a huge amount of other bad things happening to your image, like your shot itself, depending on where it's going or how it's fitting in with the rest of the stuff on either side of it in the edit. High frame rate stuff can easily kind of fall out. High shutter speed stuff can easily kind of fall out a little bit, because it does get a little bit sharp. One of the things that I've done before is shoot with a slightly higher shutter speed to try and minimize the motion blur, and then you cheat the motion blur afterwards with a plugin. Is it as good as shooting just with motion blur? Not really, but it kind of it gets you out of a fix sometimes. You've just got to weigh up which of the devils you want to play with. Do you want to have a slightly easier time tracking and then a slightly more complex time comping it afterwards, or do you just want to bite the bullet and then get the hard tracking done, and then make the everything fitting in a little bit easier? I got to say, I like the fact that motion blur can hide some of my sins a lot of the time. So it really depends on the project, I think.
I think that's a good answer. And also from my perspective, if for those who are watching or the person who had that question, if you've ever tried to do motion tracking on a shot with a lot of motion blur and you were not using Mocha, you might have run into some issues. I think that you'll find that Mocha is very, very forgiving. So, we tend to be able to track some of the harder shots with the planar tracker that a typical point tracker might not be able to handle.
Yeah. I think if you want to spend 7 minutes watching the rotation video in Mocha Essentials, that shows you a shot with a lot of motion blur and some techniques to try to get the most out of that shot. It's actually a horrible shot with a lot of motion blur, and there are some nice, good, solid techniques in there for how you would deal with that. So that's the Mocha Essentials course for free on borisfx.com or on the Boris FX Learn YouTube channel. Shameless plugs all around.
Okay, that's okay. I think people are excited about the free training, and it was a huge effort from you and Mary to put it together. So we're really down to the wire here for time, and I appreciate everyone for hanging in with us.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Ben's going to quickly touch on Silhouette, and
yeah.
I just also wanted to reiterate that you'll find lots and lots of great training videos for all these products. You know, really, the purpose of this is really to kind of do a high-level overview of all the Boris FX tools that are now bundled with the Wacom deal, and we do encourage you to check out more of our training videos on the website.
Absolutely. Yeah. Silhouette is again, it's a standalone application, soon to be a plugin as well. I'm going to be showing you a sneak peek of the plugin version of Silhouette, and it's one of the sort of hidden. I'm trying to find not a hidden hero, but it actually almost is like a hidden hero behind the scenes of a lot of big shots for things like rotoscoping, where you're doing sort of high level rotoscoping for chopping out people, separating out people from a background with a lot of fine detail, or for paint work, for cleaning up shots, comping shots together. I'm going to be using it for a simple paint shop here. I've just got the Silhouette applied as a plugin, like so often we've seen in the last hour and a little bit, hour and a half. We're bringing in Silhouette. I'm actually coming in and let's just, I don't want to show you a cheating version. Let's just delete all of this. Yeah, I'm coming in and I'm opening up a different UI. So this is Silhouette. Oh, and that's me pressing the wrong button. There we go. That's the one I was trying to do. So Silhouette is set up. Let's get rid of everything here. It's set up with our sort of input clip, and it's a nodal based system. So we have a roto node here, and we have a paint node here. So the paint and the paint tools are, some of the pretty standard sorts of things. But what they allow us to do is it allows us to leverage Silhouette's auto paint features and functionality. Let's just bounce this back and forth to do stuff that would be tricky to do with other techniques. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to get rid of this necklace, but because of the way that the light is going across the image, it's actually really difficult to get rid of this just with normal kind of like patching techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Silhouette to kind of paint some of this stuff out. I'm not going to go too deep into this. We do have like a very deep paint tool. I'm actually just going to come into like my clone tool, and this is where my express keys. I use express keys a lot with Silhouette to just come in, and I can just paint over this area here. Now, if we have a look at the way that the brush is set up, we can actually change the size of the brush by holding down Control and then just moving the pen, which is kind of what we were doing with optics. But I can also hold down Shift and Control, which is the top two buttons. Let's try and move my fingers over there, and I can change the softness of the brush with that. Or I can come down and use the Control and Alt to change the opacity of the brush. So it's very sort of interactive of what I'm doing with this. So I can use the the pan around tool here. I don't even have to press down. I can just sort of hold and move my pen over the top, which is lovely, and then just kind of move and find out where it is I want to be cloning from. We can set up multiple clone brushes. We can do, very, very clever things that I'm actually not going to do too much, but I can sort of dual wield. There we go. Love dual wielding my my clone tool. So let's just very quickly get one area done here. I'm not gonna spend too much time. We'll get this looking too nice because I just want to show you what's what. Just get the the sort of basic overall workflow done. There we go, and we'll just come in here, la la la, beautiful, and get rid of that as well. So I could spend a bit more time making this look nicer, but we're going to get the idea of what we're trying to go for here. Now, every one of my strokes I've made has been recorded in my paint history over on the right-hand side. So what this means is that I can then come in and I can use this and paint across frames. Now, because our shot is moving, I can't just paint across frames just without doing anything else. What I need to do is I need to get some more motion tracking going. And again, that is a job for our good friend, Mocha. So I'm just going to come in, I'm going to make a little shape, which is an area that I want tracked, just something like that, something rough. Come in here, and I have Mocha built directly in to Silhouette. So I can track this forwards, and it's going to apply that tracking data to our layer here. Let's come back here, track this one backwards. And this, if we look at the node tree flow, this tracks that or feeds that data into my paint node. So if I come back into the frame that I've painted, I can transform this using my neck track. I can say match move, please. And then I can just play that forwards. And now, let's make sure I've selected that. There we go. And now I can play that forwards. And what Silhouette's going to do is it's going to go along and it's going to paint all of my strokes along for me with that motion tracking data in mind. Now, if I'd have done a better job at the original paint, this would look really, really nice. I can see here that I've actually slipped a little bit, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we can do very quickly. And because we're painting and cloning from different areas, but on the same frame as where the necklace is, as the light comes in and changes across that image, we're getting a much more seamless result than we otherwise would. And the nice thing about this is that I'm done here. Once we've rendered this out, or once the auto paint has done its job, I don't have to do any more rendering. I can just come in here, and this is going to be an amazingly fast playback. So unlike a lot of like different types of paint system, like they're based off of a different way of working, we've not got any more rendering to do at this stage. Like all our rendering is kind of front loaded during that auto paint stage. Once everything's here and looking nice, that's it. We've got almost no processing to do. And because it's a raster based system, so it's working off of pixels rather than sort of a vector based system, which is what a lot of the other paint systems are. This means that it's exceedingly fast, and when you're working with hundreds, sometimes thousands of strokes on a single image, not having all of those strokes weigh you down every single time you move to a new frame is just absolutely invaluable. Now, I would love to talk more about Silhouette. We haven't touched on anything that Silhouette can really do, but I'm very cognizant that we've gone well over time with this, and I just want to thank everyone for sticking with us throughout this sort of brief look at the Boris FX suite. Are there any questions, Mr. Ross?
No, I think that we've covered a lot, quite a bit, Ben. Pretty impressive to cover so many products in this short time. But yeah, we're just, like Ben said, we're just scratching the surface here. You know, to sort of frame silhouette for lastly, I would say,
Thank you.
You know, people always see Photoshop and they say, I wish I could do that over video. And, you know, so that's basically what silhouette is. You know, all your touch-ups that you would do in Photoshop, you can do over film and video frames. So
I'm trying to see if I've got like a my final thing here. I've got let's have a little look there.
Removing her watch and doing
removing
things like
her
that.
watch,
Yeah,
cleaning up the
very
background,
cool.
you know, that sort of stuff. And
Well,
it's all tracked in and looks nice.
So Ben, thanks so much for your time. I would like to say on behalf of everyone at Boris FX, we want to thank the Wacom team very much for having us at this event. And again, we're happy to share that there's this Boris FX and Wacom Boris FX Suite promotion happening. And if you've bought a Cintiq or Intuos Pro, you will find the redemption in your Wacom account. So definitely check that out. And we hope to see you guys again.
We do.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was really, really informative.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And we'll be talking later.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Cheers now.